Two of the most talked about royals on the planet just wrapped up a trip that, honestly, nobody saw coming. And the final stop they made is raising some very serious questions about where Harry and Meghan's focus truly lies right now. According to reports, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle concluded a two-day humanitarian visit to Jordan on February 26, 2026, and the last thing they did before boarding their flight home was tour a cancer center. And I want you to stay with me here, because the timing of this visit is something that I think deserves a much deeper look. We are talking about a royal family that has been publicly shaken by cancer diagnoses at the very top, and here are Harry and Meghan, thousands of miles from the palace, walking through the halls of one of the Arab world's most respected cancer care institutions. So what is really going on here? And why does this trip feel like it could be one of the most quietly significant things the Sussexes have done in years? Let's get into it. According to sources, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex joined a delegation from the World Health Organization to visit the King Hussein Cancer Centre, a nonprofit institution established in 2001 by royal decree in Jordan. The center, led by Princess Gita Talal, is not just some symbolic photo opportunity. It focuses on comprehensive cancer care, research, prevention, and early detection, with a stated mission to expand treatment access across Jordan and the wider Arab world. Now, before I go any further, I want to flag something that I think changes the entire emotional weight of this visit. King Charles, Harry's own father, announced back in February 2024 that he was undergoing cancer treatment. Then in December of that same year, he shared what he called good news during a televised broadcast, saying that thanks to early diagnosis and effective medical intervention, his treatment schedule could be reduced going into the new year. And then just 2 months after that, in January 2025, Kate Middleton publicly announced that she had reached remission following her own cancer treatment. So when Harry walks into a cancer center on the other side of the world, you have to wonder, what is going through his mind? Is this personal? Is this professional? Is it both? And here is where it gets even more interesting. According to reports, the Sussexes office confirmed that members of the royal family were informed of the couple's travel plans ahead of time. Now, I know that sounds like standard protocol, but think about what that actually means. Harry and Meghan notified the palace before heading to Jordan. That is a detail that, to me, suggests a level of communication between the two camps that a lot of people assumed was basically non-existent at this point. Whether that signals genuine thawing of relationships or is simply a logistical formality, that is not officially confirmed, but it is worth noting. Now let me take you back to how this trip even started, because it was announced in a way that felt almost dramatic in its own right. According to reports, the Jordan visit was announced just after midnight local time on February 25, 2026. So this was not exactly a press conference with weeks of advance notice. Harry and Meghan joined WHO Director General Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus for a series of visits focused on humanitarian health response, mental health support, and aid for communities affected by conflict and displacement. The itinerary reportedly included meetings with medical evacuees from Gaza and a visit to one of the world's largest refugee camps. And look, I have to be honest with you here. When I first read about this trip, my initial thought was the same thought a lot of people probably had. Is this a PR play? Is this the Sussexes trying to reframe their public image? And maybe, to some degree, the optics are always part of the calculation when you are a public figure at their level. But here is my actual take after thinking about it more carefully. The work itself is real. The King Hussein Cancer Centre is a legitimate and well-regarded institution. The WHO partnership is not a small thing. Meeting with medical evacuees from a conflict zone is not something you do just for the cameras. And the fact that they chose to end their Jordan trip at a cancer center, given everything the royal family has been through with cancer personally, feels less like a coincidence and more like something intentional, even if neither Harry nor Meghan has made that explicit connection publicly. Sources claim the visit at the cancer center was part of a broader WHO engagement focused on health systems and humanitarian response in the region, not officially confirmed as having any personal emotional significance by Harry or Meghan's team. But you do not need a statement to read between the lines. Now here is something I want you to think about as we get to the bigger picture here. Harry and Meghan have spent the last several years building what I would describe as their own lane, separate from the traditional royal institution, but still operating in global spaces that require credibility, access, and trust. A WHO-affiliated trip to Jordan, visiting refugee camps and cancer centers alongside the Director General himself, is exactly the kind of work that builds that credibility. And whether you are a fan of the Sussexes or not, it is difficult to look at a visit to a pediatric oncology ward or a meeting with displaced families from a conflict zone and call that purely performative. It is alleged by some commentators that Harry and Meghan have struggled to define a clear mission since stepping back from royal duties, and I think that is a fair critique to have raised in the past. But trips like this one, structured around WHO global health priorities, humanitarian response, and cancer care access, start to paint a picture of what that mission might actually be coalescing into. According to reports, the visit to the cancer center aligned with the broader humanitarian health focus of the entire Jordan trip, which was described as centered on mental health, displacement support, and health system resilience. And I find it genuinely interesting that these are the exact areas where global need is most acute right now, and also the areas where celebrity advocacy, when done thoughtfully, can actually move resources, raise awareness, and open doors for organizations doing the hard work on the ground. Now, I do want to be fair and balanced here, because responsible reporting requires it. Not everyone is going to interpret this trip the same way. There are critics who will point out that Harry and Meghan have a history of high-profile appearances that do not always translate into sustained, measurable impact. That is a legitimate conversation to have. And the fact that this trip was announced with very little advance notice, just after midnight, no less, does raise some questions about transparency and media management. But those are questions worth asking of virtually every public figure who operates in this space, not just the Sussexes. What I can say with confidence is this. According to multiple reports, the King Hussein Cancer Centre is one of the most respected oncology institutions in the Arab world, and Harry and Meghan showing up there alongside a WHO delegation is not a small or trivial event. It represents real access to real institutions doing real work. And in a world where the royal family back home has been navigating cancer diagnoses at the very highest levels, there is something quietly powerful about a member of that family choosing to spend his time standing inside a cancer treatment center and listening to the people who run it. So where does this all leave us? According to sources, the Sussexes are expected to continue their humanitarian engagements, and this Jordan trip appears to be part of a broader pattern of WHO-aligned advocacy work. Whether that work ultimately shapes their legacy in the way they clearly intend it to, that remains to be seen. But one thing is clear. Harry and Meghan are not sitting still, and the world is still very much paying attention. If you found this breakdown valuable, do not forget to like this video and subscribe so you never miss our next deep dive into the stories behind the headlines. The conversation about what the Sussexes are building and whether it matters is far from over.